Katie Morgan walked through the massive doors of the Advanced Combat Theory classroom. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The room was huge, bigger than her entire apartment back on Earth. Alien students filled the seats talking. In languages she didn't understand, she was small compared to everyone else. At 5 feet 4 inches, Katie looked like a child next to the other students. The Krathri warriors stood 8 feet tall with thick scales and sharp teeth. Their yellow eyes followed her as she walked past. The Veltar students had 6 arms each and moved like dancers. Even sitting down, they looked dangerous. The Thorgani students looked like walking rocks. Their skin was gray and bumpy, and they breathed slowly through small holes in their faces. Katie found an empty seat in the back row. She sat down and pulled out her tablet. A few students looked at her, then turned away. She heard one of them whisper something in Krathri. She didn't need to understand the words to know they were talking about her. This was her 3rd week at the Galactic Military Academy. She still felt out of place. Back home in Detroit, she was tough. She had to be. The streets were dangerous, and her family didn't have much money. But here, surrounded by aliens who could break her in half, she felt very small. The classroom door opened with a loud hiss. Commander Zexthal walked in. He was the biggest Krathri Katie had ever seen. His scales were dark green with old battle scars. His uniform had many medals on it. The room went quiet as he walked to the front. "Good morning, students," Commander Zexthal said. His voice was deep and rough. "Today we begin a new lesson. We will talk about natural combat ability." Pressed a button on his desk. A big screen came down from the ceiling. Pictures of different alien worlds appeared on it. Each species evolved on different worlds, the commander said. Some worlds were easy, some were hard. The harder the world, the stronger the species that survived. Katie listened carefully. She always did well on the written tests, but the commander never called on her during discussions. The Krathri evolved on Krathex Prime, Commander Zexthal continued. His chest puffed out with pride. It is a Class 18 death world. The gravity is 3 times normal. The air burns your lungs. Predators hunt in packs of 50. The Krathri students nodded and smiled. Katie could see their sharp teeth. The Veltar come from the storm world of Velinaris. Class 16. Lightning strikes every few seconds. The trees move and attack. Only the fastest survive. The Veltar students move their arms in complex patterns. It was probably some kind of greeting or sign of respect. The Thorgani evolved on Thorgon, a Class 15 heavy world. The mountains walk. The ground shakes every day. Rock slides can bury entire cities. The Thorgani students made deep rumbling sounds. Katie thought it might be laughter. Commander Zexthal looked around the room. His eyes stopped on Katie. And then we have students from easier worlds. Class 12 worlds, Class 10 worlds, even some Class 8 worlds. Katie felt her face get hot. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. Most aliens thought that was barely dangerous at all. These students are here because of diversity programs, the commander said. The Academy wants students from many different species, but we must remember that genetics matter. Evolution matters. A warrior from a Class 18 world will always be stronger than someone from a Class 12 world. Several alien students looked back at Katie. She kept her face calm, but inside she was angry. She wasn't here because of charity. She earned her place. Katie thought about her brother Ryan. He died fighting alien raiders near Centauri Station. The same raiders who killed their parents. Ryan always said she was tougher than she looked. He taught her how to fight when she was little. Your homework, Commander Zexthal said, is to research your species' natural advantages. Krathri students will study strength and endurance. Veltar students will study speed and reflexes. Thorgani students will study durability and resistance to damage. He paused and looked at Katie again. Students from easier worlds can study whatever they want. It won't matter much in real combat. Some students laughed. Katie wrote notes on her tablet, but her hands were shaking with anger. After class, Katie packed her things slowly. Most students had already left. Ben Carter, another human student, walked over to her desk. Don't listen to him, Ben said quietly. He doesn't know anything about humans. Katie looked up at her friend. Ben was tall for a human, but still shorter than most aliens. He came from Mars, which was classified as a Class 9 world, even easier than Earth. Maybe he's right, Katie said. Maybe we don't belong here. That's not true, Ben said. Got the highest score on the last tactical exam, higher than any Krathri or Veltar. Katie stood up and slung her bag over her shoulder. Written tests are different from real fighting. Walked out of the classroom together. The hallway was full of alien students. Most of them ignored Katie and Ben. A few stared at them like they were strange animals. My dad always said humans have advantages too, Katie said. We just have to find them. Ben nodded. What kind of advantages? Katie thought about her father. He was a Marine before he died. He fought in 3 different wars against alien species. He won medals for bravery, but he never talked about the battles. He said we're good at adapting. Katie said other species evolve for one thing, strength or speed or toughness. But humans can do a little bit of everything. That doesn't sound very impressive, Ben said. Katie smiled for the first time that day. My dad also said we're good at surprising people. They reached the dining hall. It was loud and crowded. Different species sat at different tables. The humans had a small table in the corner as Katie ate her dinner. She thought about Commander Zexthal. He was famous throughout the galaxy. He never lost a battle. He had fought against 12 different species and won every time, but he had never fought a human before. Katie made a decision. She would show Commander Zexthal that humans belonged at the Academy. She would prove that Class 12 Deathworlders could be just as dangerous as anyone else. She just had to figure out how. The next morning, Katie walked into the combat theory classroom early. She wanted to sit in the front row today. She was tired of hiding in the back. As she settled into her seat, other students began to arrive. A massive Krathri student named Vexkar sat down next to her. He was almost twice her size, with dark red scales and 3 scars across his face. He looked down at Katie and made a sound that might have been laughter. Little human thinks she belongs in the warrior section, Vexkar said in broken English. Very funny. Katie looked up at him calmly. I belong here as much as anyone else. Vexkar showed his sharp teeth. My world has storms of acid rain, volcanoes that never stop, beasts with metal teeth. What does your soft world have? Katie thought. About Detroit, the gang wars, the food riots, the alien raids that killed her family, the violence that never seemed to end. Enough, she said quietly. Commander Zexthal entered the room. Today he carried a large tablet and some kind of weapon Katie didn't recognize. He set them on his desk and looked around the classroom. Yesterday you researched your species' natural advantages, he said. Today, we will discuss them. Vexkar, tell us about Krathri's strength. Vexkar stood up. We are strongest because Krathax Prime made us strong. Heavy gravity, dangerous predators. Weak Krathri die young. Only strong survive to have children. Excellent. Commander Zexthal said. This is how evolution works. Strength creates more strength. A Veltar student named Silthes raised 2 of her 6 arms. Veltar speed comes from lightning storms. We must move fast or die. Our reflexes are faster than any other species. Commander Zexthal nodded. Speed and strength. The foundations of all combat. Katie raised her hand. Several students turned. To look at her, Commander Zexthal's eyes narrowed. Yes, human student. Evolution too, Katie said. Humans don't have the strongest muscles or the fastest reflexes, but we have something else. What could that possibly be? Commander Zexthal asked. His voice sounded bored. Katie stood up. She was still much shorter than everyone else in the room. We adapt. Every other species evolved for one specific environment. Humans spread across hundreds of different environments. Hot deserts, frozen mountains, dense jungles, ocean islands. We learned to survive everywhere. Vexkar made his laughing sound again. Adaptation is for weak species. Strong species make environment adapt to them. But what happens when you face something your strength can't beat? Katie asked. What happens when you meet an enemy your evolution didn't prepare you for? The room went quiet. Commander Zexthal stared at Katie for a long moment. Interesting theory, he said finally. But theories don't win battles. Strength wins battles, speed wins battles. Humans have neither. Katie sat down. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. Around her, alien students whispered to each other in their own languages. After class, Katie went to the Academy Library. It was a massive building with information from thousands of worlds. She found a quiet corner and started researching. She looked up every battle commander Zexthal had ever fought. The records showed he was truly an amazing warrior. It defeated Veltar assassins, Thorgani, heavy warriors, and even a few species Katie had never heard of. But as Katie read more carefully, she noticed something interesting. All of Commander Zextal's opponents fought in predictable ways. The Veltar always used speed. The Thorgani always used strength. Every species had their one main strategy. Katie pulled up videos of the battles. She watched Commander Zextal fight again and again. He was incredibly skilled, but he always used the same techniques. Traditional Krathri combat forms. Ancient moves passed down for thousands of years. She started researching Krathri anatomy. Their thick scales protected them from most weapons. Their powerful muscles could crush metal. But they had weaknesses too. Krathri eyes were designed for their homeworld's dim light. Bright flashes could blind them temporarily. Their heavy bodies needed their tails for balance. If the tail was damaged, they couldn't fight properly. Most importantly, their traditional combat stance left certain areas unprotected. Katie spent hours reading about different fighting styles from across the galaxy. Most species had developed formal combat systems, rules and traditions that never changed, honor codes that limited what techniques were allowed. But humans were different. Humans had developed dozens of fighting styles: boxing, wrestling, martial arts from ancient Earth, military combat training, street fighting. Humans would use anything that worked. The next day in class, Commander Zexal announced something new. Today we begin practical combat training, he said. We will spar with students from other species. This will show you the difference between theory and reality. Katie watched as Krathri students fought Veltar students. The Krathri won with pure strength. Then Veltar students fought Thorgani students. The Veltar won with speed and quick strikes. Every fight followed the same pattern. Each species used their natural advantage. Stronger or faster species won. It was predictable. This is how real combat works, Commander Zexal explained. Superior genetics always win. Katie raised her hand again. What if someone used a different strategy? Something unexpected? Commander Zexal looked annoyed. Like what? What if someone didn't fight the way their species was supposed to fight? Several students laughed. Vexkar spoke up. Humans always have excuses. Cannot win with strength, so they make up stories about strategy. Commander Zextal walked over to Katie's desk. He towered over her like a mountain. You think strategy can beat evolution? He asked. You think clever ideas can beat superior genetics? Katie looked up at him. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was angry. I think anyone can be beaten if they're too proud to learn. The classroom went completely silent. Commander Zextal's eyes flashed with anger. For a moment, Katie thought he might attack her right there. Instead, he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Very well, human student, he said. Since you believe strategy is so important, I will give you a chance to prove it. Katie's heart started beating faster. Next week, I will demonstrate proper Krathri combat techniques, Commander Zexal said. Any student who thinks they can challenge these techniques may try. He leaned down closer to Katie. She could smell his breath. It smelled like metal and old meat. I have fought 847 battles, he whispered. I have never been defeated. Not once. Katie met his eyes. There's a first time for everything, Commander. Zextal straightened up. We shall see, little human, shall see. As the students filed out of class, Ben Carter caught up with Katie in the hallway. Are you crazy? He whispered. He's going to kill you. Katie shouldered her bag. Maybe I'll surprise him. This isn't a game, Katie. He's a professional. Warrior? Katie thought about her brother Ryan, about her parents, about all the humans who had died because aliens thought they were weak. I know, she said. That's exactly why I have to try. Katie couldn't sleep that night. She lay in her small bed in the human dormitory, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow was the demonstration. Tomorrow, she would face Commander Zexthal in front of the entire academy. She got up and walked to her desk. Her tablet glowed in the dark room. She had spent every free moment this week studying Crotheri combat. She knew their moves. She knew their weaknesses. But knowing and doing were two different things. Katie opened a file on her tablet. It contained videos of her father training with other Marines back on Earth. She had watched these videos hundreds of times, but tonight, she needed to see them again. Her father looked young in the videos. He was teaching other soldiers how to fight against alien species. Katie remembered him telling her these stories when she was little. Every species thinks they know the best way to fight, her father said in the video. The Krathri use their strength. The Veltar use their speed. They're all experts at fighting their own kind. Katie paused the video. Her father was demonstrating something to the other Marines. But they don't know how to fight us, he continued, because we don't fight like anyone else. We use whatever works. We adapt. We survive. Katie watched her father show the Marines different techniques. Some were from human martial arts. Others were things he had learned fighting aliens in real battles. Nothing was too dirty or too simple if it worked. Remember, her father said, honor is a luxury. Survival is a necessity. Tablet. She understood now what she had to do. The next morning, Katie ate breakfast with Ben Carter and a few other human students. They all looked worried. You don't have to do this, Ben said for the 10th time. Everyone knows you're smart. You don't need to prove anything? Katie pushed her food around on her plate. She wasn't hungry. Yes, I do. Not just for me, for all of us. Lisa Adams, a human girl from Luna Colony, leaned forward. What do you mean? Look around, Katie said. How many? Humans are in the advanced combat classes. How many humans get chosen for the elite squadrons? How many human officers do you see? The other students were quiet. They all knew the answer. Very few. They think we're weak, Katie continued. They think Earth is an easy world and we're soft. Because of it, until someone proves them wrong, they'll always think that. Mark Johnson, a human boy from Mars, shook his head. But why you? Why not someone bigger? Someone stronger? Katie smiled sadly. Because someone bigger and stronger would just prove that humans can be strong too. That's not enough. I need to prove that we can be smart. After breakfast, Katie went to the training room. She wanted to practice one more time before the demonstration. The room was empty, except for training equipment and practice. Dummies. Katie started with basic movements. Footwork, balance, timing. These were things her father had taught her when she was 7 years old. Before the alien raids, before everything went wrong, she practiced the moves she would use against Commander Zexthal. They weren't fancy. They weren't traditional. Some people might even call them dirty tricks. But they would work. As Katie trained, she thought about what would happen after the fight. If she lost, everyone would say it proved humans were weak. If she won, some people would say she got lucky. But maybe, just maybe, some people would start to think differently about humans. A soft sound made her turn around. Lyra, a young Veltar student, stood in the doorway. Her 6 arms moved nervously. I hope I am not disturbing you, Lyra said in careful English. Katie stopped training. It's okay. What do you need? Lyra moved closer. Her large eyes looked worried. I wanted to tell you something about Commander Zexthal. Katie waited. He has fought many students before, Lyra said. Always he wins. But I have watched his fights. He has patterns, ways he always moves. Katie felt a spark of hope. What kind of patterns? He always starts the same way, Lyra explained. Big attack with his right hand. Then he grabs with his left hand. Then he uses his tail to knock down his opponent. Katie nodded. She had seen this in the videos too. But there is something else, Lyra continued. He gets angry when opponents do not fight the way he expects. When they do not follow the rules he knows. Why are you telling me this? Katie asked. Lyra's arms moved in what Katie had learned was a Veltar gesture of respect. Because you are kind to students like me. Others ignore us because we are not. From the strongest worlds, you treat everyone the same. Katie felt touched. She hadn't realized anyone had noticed. Also, Lyra added, I think Commander Zexthal is wrong about weak worlds making weak people. My world has terrible storms, but the most dangerous thing there is not the lightning. It is the other Veltar. After Lyra left, Katie continued training. But now she felt less alone. Maybe other students were starting to question what they had been taught to. The afternoon came too quickly. Katie changed into her training clothes and walked to the main arena. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. The arena was packed. Katie had never seen so many students in one place. Word had spread throughout the academy. Everyone wanted to see the tiny human girl challenge the legendary Krathri commander. Katie walked to the center of the arena. The floor was made of some kind of metal that didn't slip. Good. She would need all the traction she could get. Commander Zexthal entered from the other side. He wore his dress uniform with all his medals. The crowd cheered as he walked. He raised his arms and the cheering got louder. When he reached the center, Commander Zexthal looked down at Katie. She barely came up to his chest. Last chance to. Change your mind, little human, he said quietly, so only she could hear. I do not want to hurt you. Katie looked up at him. I appreciate that. But I'm not going to change my mind. Commander Zexthal nodded. Very well, let us begin. He walked to his starting position. Katie walked to hers. The distance between them was exactly 20 feet, standard sparring distance. The arena announcer, a Thorgani with a voice like grinding rocks, spoke into his microphone. Combat demonstration between Commander Zexthal of the Krathri Defense Force and Cadet Katie Morgan of Earth, he said. Standard Academy rules apply. Fight continues until one opponent yields or is unable to continue. Katie took a deep breath. Around her, hundreds of alien students watched and waited. Some were cheering for Commander Zexthal. Others were just curious to see what would happen. In the front row, she could see Ben Carter and the other human students. Wave. Lisa Adams had her eyes closed like she was praying. Katie looked across at Commander Zexthal. He was getting into his traditional combat stance. Right foot forward, arms ready to grab or strike. Tail curved for balance. Just like in all the videos. Just like Lyra had said. The announcer raised his arm. Fighters ready. Katie nodded. Commander. Zexthal nodded. Begin. Katie didn't move toward Commander Zexthal. Instead, she took 2 quick steps to the side. The move confused him for just a moment. That moment was all she needed. Commander. Zexthal lunged forward with his right hand. Just like always. But Katie wasn't where he expected her to be. The fight had begun. Commander Zexthal's massive right hand swept through empty air. Katie had moved at the exact moment he committed to his attack. She was no longer in front of him. She was beside him, moving toward his left side. For the first time in 847 battles, Commander Zexthal had missed his opening strike. The crowd gasped. Commander Zexthal turned to follow Katie, but she was already moving again. She stayed low, using her smaller size to stay under his line of sight. Katie remembered her father's words. Big opponents expect you to back away from them. Instead, get close. Get inside their reach, where their size works against them. Commander Zexthal tried to grab her with his left hand, just like Lyra had predicted, but Katie ducked under his arm and kept moving. She was like water, flowing around his attacks instead of meeting them head-on. Stand still and fight, Commander. The Zexthal roared. His voice echoed through the arena. Katie didn't answer. She was counting seconds in her head. 1, 2, 3. Commander Zexthal spun around, trying to catch her with his tail. It was a powerful move that had knocked down dozens of opponents before. His tail swept through the air like a giant club. Katie saw it coming. She had studied this move for hours. At the last second she jumped, not high, just enough to let the tail pass under her feet. 4, 5. As Katie landed, she was exactly where she wanted to be. Behind Commander Zexthal, close to his left side. He was off balance from his tail sweep, leaning forward slightly. This was her chance. Katie moved faster than she had ever moved before. Her father had taught her this technique when she was 12. It wasn't a fancy martial arts move. It was a simple attack that Marines used when they needed to end a fight quickly. She grabbed Commander Zextal's left arm with both hands, not to hurt him, but to use him as an anchor point. Then she swung her body around and kicked hard at the back of his right knee. Crathry knees bent the same way human knees did, and no matter how strong you were, if someone hit your knee from the wrong angle while you were off balance, you would fall. 6. 7. Commander Zextal's right leg buckled. His massive body started to tip forward. Katie rode his falling momentum, still holding onto his arm. As he fell, she swung herself up onto his back. 8. Katie wrapped her right arm around Commander Zextal's thick neck. She found the spot she had studied in the anatomy texts, the place where the blood vessels were closest to the surface. She pressed her arm against it, cutting off the blood flow to his brain. It was called a sleeper hold. Human police had used it for centuries. Didn't cause permanent damage, but it made people unconscious very quickly. Commander Zextal tried to grab Katie. She was on his back where his arms couldn't reach her properly. He tried to roll over to crush her, but Katie held on tight and adjusted her position. 9. Commander Zextal's movements became slower. The lack of blood to his brain was making him weak. His hands reached up to try to pull Katie's arm away from his neck, but he couldn't get a good grip. "I yield," he said quietly. The arena was completely silent. Katie immediately let go and rolled away from Commander Zextal. She stood up and backed away, giving him space. Commander Zextal slowly got to his feet. He was breathing hard, but he didn't look angry. He looked confused. 9 seconds, the announcer said in a shocked voice. The fight lasted 9 seconds. Crowd erupted. Some aliens cheered. Others argued loudly in their own languages. A few just stared in silence, unable to believe what they had seen. Katie walked over to Commander Zextal. She bowed respectfully, the way her father had taught her to show respect to a defeated opponent. "Thank you for the lesson," she said. Commander Zextal looked down at her. His yellow eyes were different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something Katie hadn't expected to see. Curiosity. "How?" he asked simply. Katie thought about her answer. She could be mean. She could point out all his mistakes. She could embarrass him in front of everyone. But that wasn't what her father would have wanted. "Fought exactly the way I expected. You to fight," she said. "The way every Crathry fights. The way you've always fought." Commander Zextal nodded slowly. "And you did not fight the way I expected a human to fight." "I didn't fight the way anyone expected," Katie said. "That was the point." Commander Zextal was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to face the crowd. "Students of the Galactic Military Academy," he said. His voice carried easily through the arena. "Today I learned something new. I learned that there are different kinds of strength." The crowd listened carefully. Commander Zextal was a legend. When he spoke, people paid attention. "I've always believed that the strongest species would always win," he continued. "Today, Cadet Morgan showed me that I was wrong. She did not beat me with superior strength or speed. She beat me with superior thinking." Commander Zextal looked down at Katie again. "She studied my weaknesses, adapted her strategy to my fighting style. She used techniques I had never seen before. This is also a kind of strength." Katie felt her eyes getting wet. She had expected to win or lose. She hadn't expected this. From now on, Commander Zextal announced, combat classes will include lessons on adaptive fighting. We will study not just how to use our own species' advantages, but how to counter other species' advantages. He paused and looked around the arena. "And we will learn from humans. They may come from a Class 12 world, but they have survived and spread across the galaxy. There must be a reason for this." The crowd was buzzing with excitement. Katie could see alien students talking to each other, probably discussing what they had just witnessed. Ben Carter ran down from the stands. He was followed by Lisa Adams and the other human students. They all looked amazed. "Katie," Ben shouted. "You did it. You actually did it." Katie smiled. She felt tired but happy. She had proven that humans belonged at the academy. She had shown that intelligence and adaptability were just as valuable as strength and speed. But most importantly, she had honored her father's memory. She had used the lessons he taught her to make a difference. Commander Zexthal walked over. To the group of human students, they all tensed up, not sure what to expect. "Cadet Morgan," he said formally. "Yes, sir," Petiti replied. "I would like to learn more about human combat techniques." Katie looked up at the massive Krathari warrior who had been her enemy just minutes before. Now he was asking to be her student. "I would be honored." "Sir," she said. Commander Zexthal nodded. "Good, we will begin tomorrow." "And Cadet Morgan?" "Yes, sir." "Sir, thank you for teaching an old warrior that he still has much to learn." As Katie walked out of the arena with her friends, she could hear the crowd still talking excitedly about the fight. 9 seconds had changed everything. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Katie felt like she truly belonged there. 3 weeks had passed since the 9-second fight. Everything at the academy had changed. Katie walked through the hallways, and now students nodded to her with respect. Krathari warriors who used to ignore her asked about human fighting techniques. Veltar students wanted to know about adaptability training. Even the proud Thorgani asked questions about strategy. The combat theory classroom looked different too. Commander Zexthal had removed the old posters showing traditional fighting. Forms. New posters now covered the walls. They showed fighting techniques from dozens of different species, including humans. Katie took her usual seat in the front row.
Ow.
She still felt strange sitting there instead of hiding in the back. Vexkar, the big Krathari student, sat next to her like always. But now he treated her like an equal. "Good morning, warrior," Katie, Vexkar said. We had started calling her that after the fight. "Good morning, Vexkar," Katie replied. "Ready for today's lesson?" Vexkar showed his sharp teeth, and what Katie had learned was a friendly smile. "Commander Zexthal says we will practice fighting against multiple opponents today. Very exciting." Commander Zexthal entered the classroom. He moved differently. Now, less arrogant, more thoughtful. The fight with Katie had changed him too. "Good morning, students," he said. "Today we continue our studies in adaptive combat. Who can tell me the 3 principles of human warfare we discussed yesterday?" Several hands shot up. A Veltar student named Silthi spoke first. "Use the environment to your advantage." "Correct." Next, a Thorgani student raised his heavy arm. "Attack where the enemy is weakest, not where they are strongest." "Good." And the third, Katie raised her hand. Commander Zexthal nodded to her. "Never fight the way your enemy expects you to fight." She said, "Excellent," Commander Zexthal said. "These principles seem simple, but they are very powerful. They helped Cadet Morgan defeat me, even though I am much larger and stronger." Katie still felt embarrassed when he talked about their fight. She was proud too. She had proven something important. "Today we will practice these principles," Commander Zexthal continued. "You will work in mixed teams, Krathari, Veltar, Thorgani, and humans together. Each team must develop tactics that use everyone's strengths." This was another change. Before the fight, students only trained with their own species. Now they learned to work together. Katie was assigned to a team with Vexkar, Lyra the Veltar, and a Thorgani student named Grokthon. They had been working together for 2 weeks now, and had become good friends. "What is our scenario today?" Lyra asked. Commander Zexthal activated the room's holographic projectors. Suddenly, they were standing in a jungle environment with thick trees and vines everywhere. "Your team must capture an enemy base hidden in this jungle," he said. "The enemy has motion sensors, automated weapons, and guard patrols. Traditional assault tactics will not work." Katie looked around at her teammates. Ideas. Vexkar flexed his powerful arms. "I could smash through their defenses. Sensors would detect you before you got close." Grokthon rumbled in his deep voice. Lyra moved her 6 arms nervously. "I could try to sneak past the guards with my speed, but what about the automated weapons?" Katie asked. "They would track your movement." The team was quiet for a moment. Katie studied the holographic jungle. There had to be a way to use their different abilities together. "What if we don't try to avoid their defenses?" Katie said slowly. What if we make them work against each other? Her teammates looked confused. Explain, Vexcar said. Katie pointed to different areas of the jungle. Lyra, you're fast enough to trigger the motion sensors without getting caught by the weapons. Grokthan, you're tough enough to survive the automated weapons long enough to destroy them. Vexcar, you're strong enough to break through their barriers once the weapons are gone. And what will you do? Lyra asked. Katie smiled. I'll do something they won't expect. For the next hour, Katie's team practiced their plan. It was complicated and required perfect timing, but it worked.
Ow.
They captured the enemy base faster than any other team. After class, Katie walked to the Academy's communication center. She had received a message that morning. It was marked as urgent and classified. The communication officer, a friendly Veltar named Zinthera, handed her a sealed tablet. Very important message for you, Cadet Morgan, Zinthera said. From Galactic Defense Command. Katie's heart started beating faster. Galactic Defense Command only contacted cadets for very serious reasons. She found a private booth and opened the message. The holographic display showed Admiral Sarah Collins, the highest-ranking human officer in the Galactic Defense Force. Katie had never met her, but everyone knew who she was. Cadet Morgan, Admiral Collins said, I've been following your progress at the Academy. Your performance in combat theory class has been noted at the highest levels. Katie felt nervous. Had she done something wrong? I'm contacting you about a special mission, the Admiral continued. 3 weeks ago, we located the alien raiders, who attacked the Centauri border colonies. It's the same raiders who killed your family? Katie's hands tightened on the tablet. She had been waiting for this news for years, assembling a joint task force to capture these raiders, Admiral Collins said. The team will include officers from multiple species. We need someone who understands both human tactics and alien psychology. The Admiral paused and looked directly at Katie through the hologram. We want you to join this task force, Cadet Morgan. Not as a charity case or a diversity appointment, as a tactical specialist whose unique perspective is genuinely needed. Katie felt tears in her eyes. This was what she had dreamed of since joining the Academy. If you accept this assignment, you will graduate early from the Academy with full honors, Admiral Collins continued. You will hold the rank of lieutenant and serve as tactical advisor to the task force commander. Details about the mission, but Katie barely heard them. She was thinking about her brother Ryan and her parents. Finally, she would have a chance to make their deaths mean something. After the message ended, Katie sat in the quiet booth for a long time. Then she walked back to the human dormitory to find Ben Carter. She found him in the common room, studying with Lisa Adams and Mark Johnson. They all looked up when she entered. Katie, Ben said, You look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong? Katie sat down with her friends. I got a message from Galactic Defense Command. They want me to join a special mission, she told them about. Admiral Collins and the offer. Her friends listened in amazement. That's incredible, Lisa said. You're going to be an officer already? When do you leave? Mark asked. Next week, Katie said. If I accept? Ben looked confused. If why wouldn't you accept? Katie looked around at her friends. These people had supported her when no one else believed in her. Leaving them felt wrong. Because I'm not the only human who deserves this chance, she said. All of you are just as capable as I am. You just haven't had the opportunity to prove it yet. Ben smiled. Katie, you earned this. Don't feel guilty about succeeding. Besides, Lisa added, you won't be gone forever. You'll come back and help more humans get opportunities like this. Katie nodded. They were right. By succeeding, she was opening doors for other humans. That's what her father would have wanted. The next morning, Katie sent her reply to Admiral Collins. She accepted the mission. A week later, Katie stood in the Academy's main hangar. Her friends had come to see her off. Commander Zexel was there too, along with many other students and instructors. Remember what you learned here, Commander Zexel said as he shook her hand. And remember what you taught us. Strength comes in many forms. Katie boarded the transport ship that would take her to her new assignment. As the ship lifted off, She looked down at the academy through the window. 3 months ago, she had arrived as an overlooked girl from a Class 12 world. Now she was leaving as Lieutenant Katie Morgan, tactical specialist. She had proven that humans belonged among the galaxy's finest warriors. But more importantly, she had changed how the galaxy thought about strength, intelligence, and what it meant to be a survivor. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying Katie toward her destiny. Somewhere out there, the raiders who had killed her family were waiting. They had no idea that a small human girl was coming for them, and they had no idea how dangerous underestimating humans could be.